Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video from me, your host Logan Albright. We're in the thick of spooky season now, and I wanted to take a break from my horror novel reviews and do a horror movie Blu-ray and DVD haul video. Because every year around this time, I like to pick up some new movies for my collection. I love horror movies. I find them awesome and fascinating and fun, and I am starting to really build a good collection of them. So every year I pick up about 10 or so horror movies to add to my collection. And I thought I'd go through them with you because they've all arrived now. And we can talk about them and see which ones look good and which ones don't. Some of them are blind buys. Some of them are things that I have not seen before. Some of them are old favorites. Some of them are things that I've recently discovered and I really liked enough to want to own. So let's check them out. The first one is the only DVD in the batch. The rest are Blu-rays. This is a double feature, Monstrosity and City of the Dead. Now, let me explain. I wanted City of the Dead because I love Christopher Lee. He's in it. And this is a beautiful black and white 60s movie about witchcraft in a small town with Christopher Lee. It's very atmospheric. It's just a really great, the kind of movie I like. You know, I like movies about witches. I like movies that are atmospheric and take place in small New England towns. I like that kind of stuff. And I love Christopher Lee, as I've said. So I wanted to get this. And like every version of it is out of print. There's a great release by Arrow Video, but it's only available in the UK as a Region 2 Blu-ray, and I didn't want that because I wouldn't be able to play it. I am, in case you can't tell, located in the United States. So that's a real shame. So I was trying to get this movie, trying to find it. And I finally found this version on a cheapo DVD double feature with Monstrosity, which I don't know anything about. And it's by this company called Frolic Pictures. And I looked them up, and apparently what they do is they like edit two movies together in sort of a replica drive-in movie grindhouse kind of experience with trailers and commercials and stuff in the middle. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to watch the movie I want to watch because it's the second feature. I may not even be able to skip to City of the Dead. I may have to watch Monstrosity first in order to get to it. I don't know how it's going to work. It's got like on the back it says it has their like they advertise this as a plus. That the DVD automatically plays when you put it in. You don't have to go through a menu and hit play or anything. Like, remember when DVDs first came out and they were, like, we had VHS tapes, right? And then they invented DVDs, and they would come out and the packaging would say, special features, animated menus, scene selection. Like, those were special features. Like, scene selection and animated menus are not special features. That's just part of what it is to be a DVD. But I think this DVD may not have either of those things. And so, we'll see. But I do love City of the Dead, and I'm excited to check out Monstrosity. Hopefully it will be good. It's a good movie. City of the Dead is if you like witch movies, and I like witch movies, so check that out. Speaking of witch movies, the next film, which is all the rest are Blu-ray from here on out, and I haven't opened them yet. This is Burn Witch Burn, and I haven't seen Burn Witch Burn. This is a blind buy for me. But it was written by Richard Matheson, who's famous for not only his screenwriting career, but his career as a writer of novels and short stories. He wrote a bunch of Twilight Zone episodes. He wrote The Incredible Shrinking Man. He wrote I Am Legend. And he wrote lots of great short stories and novels in his career. So I was excited about that. I'd heard good things. And I don't think I know anybody who's in this. But again, it's a black and white movie about witches, and it looks atmospheric and awesome, and it's written by a great screenwriter. So that should be a lot of fun. I love to get movies about the satanic panic and the witch craze, so they're always fun. And this looks like a cool cover, so I'm excited to check that one out. I'm doing these in alphabetical order, by the way, apart from the first one, which is a DVD. So the next one is another blind buy, one I haven't seen, A Dark Song. And this is one that I only read the description of and thought it sounds like right up my alley. It sounds like the kind of thing I would like. It's about a woman who goes to perform some sort of occult ritual in a cabin in Wales. And I'm obsessed with Wales, and I'm obsessed with occult rituals. So it sounds like something that I'll really love. Again, I don't know much about it. I don't know the people in it. But I just decided to take a chance on it, you know. I like kind of folk horror. I like nature horror. I like things that take place out in the countryside, particularly in Great Britain. And I like things that have to do with occultism or Satanism or witchcraft or things like that. It's got a nice little, magic circle there with looks like a pentagram in it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So again, I don't know what to expect, but hopefully I will enjoy it. Next on the list is a movie I have seen before, Final Destination. Now, I saw this when it first came out, which I think was like in 1999 or 2000. And I haven't seen it since then, so I don't really remember it. But I remember being scared by it. And it's like these kids cheat death, and then death is coming after them, and like you can't actually cheat death; it's going to get you sooner or later. But that, like, knowing that death is after you is pretty scary. And I remember this being a very frightening film when I was younger. And it's got a whole bunch of sequels which I haven't seen, but I'm excited to revisit this old one. And maybe it'll live up to my memory, and maybe it won't, but we'll find out. Again, I don't know any of the actors in it. These are all people I've never heard of. So, yeah, that should be a lot of fun. Go back to an older classic. Next up, John Carpenter's The Fog. I only saw this recently for the first time, and I loved it. I thought, again, it's got that beautiful kind of seaside town, creepy New England vibe to it. I love that kind of setting. And then, you know, John Carpenter is just a very creative and interesting writer-director, and he does a lot of his own music for his films. And I just thought that was great. I really liked it. It was exactly the kind of style of movie that I like in terms of horror movies. It's just fun. So, yeah, and this is a nice collector's edition Blu-ray. I'm excited to check out the special features on here. But I like John Carpenter. I'm kind of only recently getting into John Carpenter stuff. I'd obviously seen Halloween before, but there's other stuff I'm just starting to get into. And so, picking up The Fog. Next one's a little controversial. This is one of the more recent releases from A24, and I've talked about A24 before as being a horror movie distributor, or not just horror movies. They do all kinds of art films, but I mainly know them for their horror movies. And they distribute films that are like really artistic and interesting, and they kind of have a formula. It's kind of like called heightened horror. And they've done a lot of movies that I really love. The Witch being my favorite. The Witch is like the best horror movie of the last 10 years, I think, by Robert Eggers. And so the more recent one they came out with was Men. And I have mixed feelings about Men. I found Men to be a very frustrating film. The first 3/4 of it is among the best horror that I've ever seen in my life. I thought it was creepy. I thought it was atmospheric. Again, it takes place in a small cottage village, like a state out in the middle of nowhere in Great Britain, in England. And a woman goes there to kind of get away from her past and heal a little bit. And then creepy things happen to her. And it's like got beautiful forests, and the music is awesome, and the setting is great, and the acting is really good. It stars Jessie Buckley, who I think is a really good actress. And I was just like, this movie was tailor-made for my preferences, my tastes. It's got some kind of British pagan symbolism in it, which I really love. I was just loving it. And then the last quarter of the movie is sort of a ham-fisted and over-the-top message about how evil men are, which you can tell from the title of the movie. And it's got some kind of gross out body horror stuff that I wasn't a fan of. And it's just overly symbolic and overly political. And I really didn't like the last quarter of the movie. But the first 3/4 were so good that I found myself wanting to watch them again. So I ended up picking up Man. It was pretty cheap. And I'm going to watch the first 3/4 again. And maybe I'll like it better the second time, the last ending of the movie. I didn't mind, like, a lot of people said the ending was confusing, and they didn't like that. It didn't make any sense. I didn't think the ending was that confusing. I got what they were trying to get across pretty easily, but I just object to overtly political horror movies where they're trying to make a societal point instead of just trying to scare you. So, you know, but I love the first 3/4. It's some of the best filmmaking I've ever seen. Good. Carrying on with A24 films, we have Midsommar by Ari Aster. Again, just a few years old. An excellent, like another piece of occult horror with European paganism in it. A woman played by Florence Pugh, also a very good actress, goes to this kind of retreat in Sweden to be part of their midsummer ritual. And of course, as you would expect, everything goes crazy and wrong there, and it's horrifying. I like Ari Aster's films. I liked Hereditary a lot, which was his first film. I have that one that I got in the previous year. This one I don't think I like quite as much as Hereditary, but it is a really great film. And really good use of kind of that occult horror that I like so much, the kind of European pagan horror that I like so much, and good performances throughout. I just think it's a really cool film. I actually don't know. There's a director's cut, and I don't even know if this is the director's cut. I got this for $5. It's a DVD, Blu-ray, digital combo, and I actually couldn't find out. It doesn't say anything about the director's cut on here, so I'm hoping that it is. But if it's not the end of the world. It's already a pretty long movie, so I don't really mind. Next up, another John Carpenter movie, The Thing from 1982. Now, believe it or not, I had never seen The Thing until this year. This is such a famous film and such a classic, and I never watched it because I wasn't that interested. I was like, I knew it was about an alien. I don't really like science fiction horror. I want my horror to be supernatural and I want it to be about ghosts and goblins and witches and Satanists and stuff like that. I don't really like alien horror. It doesn't do anything for me. And I also knew it was set in Antarctica, and I was like, not a setting that I'm particularly interested in. I like haunted castles and spooky forests and stuff. So I just wasn't interested in it. But I avoided it for a long time. But then this year, 2022, for the 40th anniversary, they re-released it in theaters. And I wanted to go see it, so I thought, okay, I'll go see it in the theater and experience it properly. And it's amazing. It's like just an incredible film. Kurt Russell gives a great performance. All the performances are good. It's full of tension and suspense. The effects are all practical and all unbelievably good. Just amazing creature effects and practical special effects works. I just loved it. I thought, despite the fact that I don't typically like alien horror and I don't typically like horror set in this kind of location, like a research station, it's just great. It's perfectly written. It's perfectly acted. The special effects are perfect. So one of the best horror films ever. Definitely, I agree. So I picked that one up in this little collector's edition. It's got a slightly different cover than the others, and I think it's got some second disc of special features. So that should be fun to check out. Okay, we talked about Christopher Lee already. One of my favorites. The other one of my favorites is Vincent Price. And Vincent Price did a whole string of movies with the B-movie director legend Roger Corman in the 60s based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe. And there's a whole bunch of them. And I have a couple of them. The Pit and the Pendulum, I think, is one of the best. I have that one. But I wanted to get more. So I always try to balance out my Christopher Lee purchases with my Vincent Price purchases. And the one I got this year is The Tomb of Ligeia, which is the last entry in the series. And maybe not the best. I actually wanted to get The House of Usher, but I couldn't find a copy of it. I also wanted to get Mask of the Red Death, another good one. But this was cheaper, and it's got a nice, release by Kino Lorber here. I like the cover art. And I do think Vincent Price's performance in this is very good. A lot of it is shot kind of out in broad daylight, which is not ideal for a horror film, but it's a good Vincent Price performance and a good Roger Corman film. And I like all these films, and I'm probably going to get them all at some point. But I just can't get enough Vincent Price. He's such a class act and such an amazing, wonderful performer. And he's so creepy, and he's just one of a kind. And so there's a few actors like that I think of, like Peter Cushing's another one. Actors that you just always want to see in horror films. Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, these legends, So for me, it's Vincent Price and Christopher Lee. Those are the ones that I love. And so I got The Tomb of Ligeia to add to my collection. Pretty good film, I think. Not the best, but pretty good. Okay, this is another controversial one, and it's another A24 one. It's weird how all the A24 ones are controversial. This is a film by Kevin Smith, of all people, called Tusk. It stars Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment and Michael Parks. And it's about a man who turns into a walrus, essentially. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it's really weird. And it's really disgusting, and there's a lot of body horror in it, and it's really funny. And a lot of people really, really hate it. But I thought it was awesome. I thought it was really scary, really disturbing, really upsetting, and also really funny. I think, like Kevin Smith, I love some of his early works. I recently rewatched Clerks, and it's just like, Clerks is an indie masterpiece. And I remember when I first saw that, what an amazing experience that was. And he's some of his later films have really not been that good, but I think this is a real return to form for him here because he's doing something really different. And, a lot of people hate it, but I thought it was just so much fun. Such a great film. Really bonkers, off the wall story, really. And then like some of the effects are just like horrifying and you can't unsee them. So if you have a weak stomach and you're not into body horror, I certainly don't recommend Tusk. But if you like that kind of stuff and you find it funny, Tusk is really a unique outing. And it's interesting, like the whole movie was plotted out like as a joke on a podcast that Kevin Smith was doing. He was just like, what if this? And then like they just kind of speculated the entire plot of the movie. And then he decided to actually make the movie. So they have the podcast included as a special feature here. And I'm excited to watch that and see how it came about. But yeah, like crazy film, again, distributed by A24. And one that I really liked, although it's very divisive and a lot of people really hate it. And I understand why, but it happened to hit my sensibilities in a way that I thought was really fun. And then the last film I picked up is VHS. And I don't know very much about this film, actually. I haven't seen it. I know it's a found footage film about tapes that have scary stuff on it that people find, and it's regarded as pretty good. But the reason I picked it up is that I subscribe to the streaming service Shudder, which I really love. It's the only streaming service I subscribe to. And, oh, that's not true. I subscribe to Amazon Prime to watch Rings of Power. But for a long time, it was the only streaming service I subscribed to. And they have like 700 horror movies on there. It's crazy selection, old stuff, new stuff, exclusive stuff. I'm not sponsored by Shudder. I should be. Shudder, if you're watching this, sponsor me. But I love their stuff. And Shudder has like 5 sequels to VHS on their collection. And I can't watch any of them because I haven't seen the original. So I thought, I'm going to get the original, and I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to go watch all the sequels. So that's why I picked up, excuse me, that's why I picked up VHS, and that's why I'm excited to check it out. So there you go. That's my horror DVD Blu-ray haul for the month of October 2022. I'll have lots of fun watching these scary movies. I try to watch a scary movie every night during the month, and it's going to be a blast. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the movies I picked out. Did I make good choices? Did I make bad choices? Have you seen them? What movies did I not get that I should have gotten? I mean, I already have a lot, so you don't know my whole collection. Maybe I'll do an entire collection video at one point. I don't know if I have enough for that, but I probably have like 60 horror movies in my collection at this point. If you want me to do that, let me know. I know I normally do books. I'm kind of trying to get into more like physical media in general because I also love CDs and I love Blu-rays and I love all kinds of stuff. So, you know, if you like this, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know so I can just keep doing books. I appreciate your feedback. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and have a spooky October, everybody. Let me know what you're doing for October. I'd like to know. And anyways, I've been your host, Logan Albright. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.